Hey everyone, welcome back to The Curious Peach. Get ready to have your mind blown by these jaw-dropping optical illusions. Flat 3D dimension. We're kicking things off with an illusion that flips our understanding of dimension upside down. The flat 3D dimension illusion takes a simple flat surface and magically transforms it into something that looks like it's bursting out of the page. By using clever tricks like shading, perspective lines, and strategic object placement, your brain is fooled into seeing depth where there's none. It's as if you could reach out and actually touch it. This just goes to show how easily our brains can be swayed by visual cues when it comes to perceiving space and depth. Backwards chair. Picture this. You're looking at a chair that seems totally normal until, wait, something's off. The backwards chair illusion is a mind bender that plays with perspective. From a specific angle, a chair that's facing forward suddenly looks like it's turned backward. Our brains are tricked because they rely on visual cues like the shape and angle of the chair's legs and seat to figure out its orientation. When those cues get manipulated, the rest is totally twisted perception of what's really there. Animated illusion. Next up, we've got an illusion that breathes life into still images. The animation illusion takes a series of static pictures and makes them move. Well, at least that's what your brain thinks. By making tiny changes between each frame, the illusion creates the effect of motion where there is none. It's the same principle used in traditional animation, where a bunch of drawings shown in quick succession trick your mind into seeing movement. Pretty cool, right? Motion illusions. Ever stared at a picture and sworn it was moving, only to realize it's just sitting there? Still as can be. Motion illusions mess with our brains by using patterns, colors, and lines that make us perceive motion that isn't actually happening. These illusions exploit the way our brains process information, leading us to see movement where there is none. It's all about how our brains try to predict what's coming next, and sometimes they get it hilariously wrong. Circle illusions. Circles might seem simple, but not when they are part of an illusion. Take the Ebbinghaus illusion, for instance. Two identical circles suddenly look different in size depending on the size of the circles around them. Our brains love to compare things, and in this case, it ends up making us see the central circle as larger or smaller than it actually is. Who knew circles could be so tricky? The Ames room. Imagine walking into a room where one person looks like a giant and another like a tiny doll. Welcome to the Ames room, where reality warps right before your eyes. This illusion messes with our mind by distorting the shape of the room. What looks like a regular square or rectangular space is actually a trapezoid, with one corner much closer to you than the other. Because our brains are wired to see rooms as rectangular, we get completely thrown off, making people appear to grow or shrink as they move through the space. Wild, right? Yes, no. This one's a real mind bender, an image that can say yes or no depending on how you look at it. The yes-no illusion is a type of ambigram, where the word changes based on your viewing angle. It plays with our brain's pattern recognition abilities, making us see one word from one angle and a completely different word when we rotate the image. It's like a visual riddle that keeps you guessing. The dress. The dress, the optical illusion that broke the internet. Is it black or blue, or white and gold? This simple photo sparked massive debates because different people saw different color combinations. The dress illusion happens because our brains interpret colors based on light and surrounding hues. Depending on how your brain processes the image, you might see one set of colors or the other. It's a perfect example of how our perception can vary wildly, even with something as basic as color. Following eyes. You've probably seen those eerie paintings where the eyes seem to follow you around the room, like the Mona Lisa. The following eyes illusion is a classic trick artists use to make a flat painting feel alive. By painting the pupils so they're looking straight out of the canvas no matter where you stand, the eyes appear to follow you. It's like the artwork is watching your every move. Spooky. Drop-off room. Imagine standing in a room and suddenly it feels like you're about to step off a cliff. The drop-off room illusion creates the illusion of a steep drop inside a space that's actually flat. This effect is all about perspective manipulation, with angled floors, walls, and ceilings tricking your brain into seeing a drop where there is none. It's like stepping into a real-life optical illusion. How is this image changing? One of the most mind-boggling illusions is when an image appears to change right before your eyes, even though it's completely still. This is often done using patterns that mess with your peripheral vision. When you stare at the center of the image, the edges seem to shift and change color or pattern, even though nothing's moving. It's all about how our peripheral vision is less sharp, making it more vulnerable to these visual tricks. Can you read between the lines? Here's a challenge for you. Can you read between the lines? Literally, some optical illusions hide words or images within seemingly random lines or patterns. At first glance, it might look like a mess of lines, but if you focus, hidden words or pictures start to pop out. This works because our brains are always on the lookout for patterns, even in chaos. It's like finding a hidden message in plain sight. Can you see a sleeping woman in this image? Take a closer look at this picture. Do you see a sleeping woman hidden within it? This is what's called a double image, where two different pictures are combined into one. Depending on how you focus, one image might jump out at you first, but with a little shift in perspective, another image emerges. It's like a visual puzzle, challenging you to see beyond the obvious and uncover hidden details. Are these flower petals still? At first glance, this image looks like a simple arrangement of flower petals, but keep looking, you might start to notice something strange. The petals seem to be moving, even though the picture is completely still. This is a type of motion illusion where repeated patterns create the illusion of movement. The way the petals are arranged, along with contrasting colors and shapes, tricks the brain into seeing motion where there's none. Is anything happening to these hypnotic eyes? Stare into these hypnotic eyes long enough and you might start to feel like something is happening, even though nothing's changing at all. The illusion uses patterns that seem to draw you in, creating a sensation of movement or depth. The spirals or concentric circles used in these images play with our sense of space, making it feel like the image is pulling you or pushing you away. It's a bit disorienting as your brain tries to reconcile the static image with the sensation it's creating. Are these lines bent? Here's an illusion that's sure to mess with your sense of geometry. At first glance, these lines might look bent or wavy, but take a closer look, they're perfectly straight. This type of illusion, known as the herring illusion, happens when straight lines are placed over a background of converging lines. The contrast between the straight lines and the background makes them appear to curve inward or outward. It's a great example of how our brains can be easily fooled. What's off about this peacock? Peacocks are known for their vibrant colors and intricate patterns, but something about this one seems off. The feathers of the peacock appear to shift and move, even though the image is still. This illusion is created by using patterns and colors that contrast in a way that tricks the brain into perceiving movement. The brain, overwhelmed by all the visual information, interprets the image as dynamic when it's actually static. How many people do you see in this picture? Take a good look at this picture and try to count how many people you see. The number might be changing as you look. This illusion messes with your brain's ability to recognize faces and bodies in complex patterns. Depending on where you focus, you might see more or fewer people, as some faces blend into the background while others stand out. Are these men the same size? Here's a classic optical illusion. Two men standing at different distances. Are they really the same size? At first, one might seem much larger than the other, but if you measure them, you'll find they're exactly the same size. Known as the Ponzo illusion, this trick uses converging lines like railroad tracks to create the impression of depth. The man who seems farther away looks larger because our brains associate his position with distance. It's all about context. How many objects are in this picture? For our final brain teaser, take a look at this picture. How many objects can you spot? At first, you might count a certain number, but the longer you look, the more objects seem to appear. This illusion plays with our brain's ability to group visual elements together. Depending on your focus, you might see different numbers of objects as some blend together or are obscured by others. These illusions are a fun reminder that our perception isn't always reliable. Whether it's a flat image that seems 3D, a dress that changes color, or a room that defies reality, these tricks keep us on our toes. So, the next time you stumble upon an optical illusion, take a moment to marvel at how easily our brain can be fooled. And remember, reality is often more complicated than it seems. Thanks for watching on The Curious Peach. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video from us.